Dania Denise here with Modeling FAQ number 2. If you haven't watched my video on Modeling FAQ number 1, which is Can I Be a Model, definitely check it out on my YouTube page. So, Modeling FAQ number 2 is actually kind of similar to number 1. It's asked in a different way, and it's still pretty broad, so kind of need more information to really get in there and get some accurate answers. So let's get to it. Modeling FAQ number 2, what kind of model can I be? It's easy to say that almost anyone can really be a model, but if you're trying to figure out what kind of model you can be, you're going to have to, again, think about what the requirements are. You're going to have to think about who you are as a person, where you're at in your life, your age, your height, your size and measurements, men and women. So let's break this down into a little bit easier to understand terms and hopefully give you guys some guidance out there as you're figuring out where you fit in the modeling industry. So when I say that almost everyone can be a model, it is pretty true. Newborn babies are models. You have toddlers, you have child models, you have tweens and teens, and then you have the people who are of age who do the commercial print, who do lifestyle, mature modeling. You've got parts models, real people models. In essence, the majority of the age groups that there are out there have models that represent them. Again, in this business, we sell ourselves as models. You are selling yourself to companies, to clients, to people that represent a larger branch of the public. So fashion and runway and editorial, they're all about the fashion crowd and the fashion elite, the designers, the high fashion stores that buy these clothes, and the people who love to know what's the latest accessories, the latest look and style, that whole thing. Then you've got the commercial print world, which also includes lifestyle modeling and mature modeling. And that's totally not the fashion world. It's reflecting, I guess you could say, more of the average everyday consumer. And those are families, those are business people, those are stay-at-home parents, even college kids, students. It just encompasses the non-fashion aspect of everyday life. So you have people that model for hotels, model for home buying, like real estate, the technology sector, the college and education sector. I mean, it's just a whole huge universe of possibilities for print models. And you can be a print model well into your old age. There are plenty of seniors that actively model, even in retirement. I've met many, many retired people that now do modeling full-time, and it's just so much fun for them because there are plenty of companies whose audiences are older people. So don't think that you're ever really too old to model or you can be too young to model. It is a niche that exists. You just have to find it. And if you're looking for an agent, that's going to be the most solid way to really narrow down where you can fit in, because the agencies have requirements all of their own. No two agencies are exactly the same. So even if you find information on one agency's website and you may not fit their categories, you can easily go to the next one and find some place that does work for you. So don't be so rigid and limit yourself. Step outside of the box. And even if it's not the type of modeling that you initially wanted to do, to get into the industry in general is a huge break for anybody. And you never know from that point on what doors will open for you. So if you are a parent of a very young child, depending on their age range, they could either be a child or toddler baby model. If you are ages 10 to 12, it's within the tween category. Then you've got the 13 to 18-year-olds, which are the teens. And then you have commercial print, which really can be applied to any age if you think about it. If you are 25 and older, a lot of times there is a category of modeling called lifestyle. It's literally the same thing as commercial print, but specifically for male and female models that are 25 years of age or older. So 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, lifestyle. Sometimes it's called mature modeling. There are many different names, but they essentially mean the same thing. So it just depends on the age and the demographic. You still with me? I feel like it's pretty simple. And once you get more familiar with doing research on the modeling industry, the more these terms are going to come into your vocabulary more often, and the easier it'll be to understand what it means and how it applies to how the modeling world works. So now let's talk about height. It's a huge factor in addition to age, because that's just how it works. I don't make the rules. I just put the information out there, and you guys take all that information and do with it what you will. So fashion is usually the number one spot where everyone just wants to get in. It's glamorous, it's exciting, you get to wear these great clothes and walk down this runway. Male and female alike are both pretty much in love with this category of modeling. But it's important to break down, if you're trying to figure out what kind of model you can be, you gotta have the height. You have to have the right size and measurements, but I'm not gonna go too much into that. But in terms of the height situation, for men, you have to understand that there is such a thing as being too short to get into fashion modeling, simply because the women that are in fashion are Amazons, and I mean that in the most positive way possible. Some people use it in a derogatory term. I use it in a positive way. They're gorgeous, they're tall, they're just so tall that if you have a guy that's not tall enough, it's going to show in photos. You can't Photoshop everything. And on runway shows, you can't fake height. I mean, at least for guys anyway. And think about it. These women who are already tall, some of them in bare feet are 5'10", 5'11". And they're going to be putting on 4-inch heels. Yes, ladies, if you're already tall, they're going to put you in heels. So you're going to be even taller. So think about that. And same goes with the guys. You're going to be with a woman who's easily going to be a lot higher than you. So most agencies are requiring their guys to be pretty tall. The minimum in most locations and markets is like 5'11". Very, very few at 5'10". The stricter ones want the minimum height of 6 foot for guys. The tallest you can be used to be 6'2", but now I guess there's this new trend because we're realizing how many amazing potential male models there could be, but they're 6'3", some are even 6'4". So I've been seeing a new trend in agency websites where they're actually listing the requirements for the maximum height for male models at 6'3", which means guys who are 6'3", you're totally fine. If you're 6'4", I don't know if you can shrink that 1 inch and make that work, but it kind of puts you a little bit closer to hopefully being considered. Now, if you're not 5'11", if you're 5'10", if you're shorter than 5'10", shoot for commercial print if you're a guy. There's plenty of work to go around for male print models, and if you have a really good look that sells well for that niche, an agency is going to put you out there and you're going to get work. So even if you're not on a catwalk, you're going to be in a photo shoot, you're going to be in a magazine ad, you're going to be on a billboard, you're going to be in a countless number of potential publications. So don't feel too bad if you can't make it professionally with an agency in the fashion world. There is still a spot for you in commercial print. For age-wise, when it comes to guys, the cool thing is, unlike women, men get better as they age. It's just something about it. You get more handsome, you grow into your looks, you tend to get a little bit buffer, and agencies love that. Clients love that. So if you are a younger male aspiring model, say you're in your teens, if you already have the height, if you're super tall, you're going to be considered for fashion, runway, and editorial, even if you're a little bit younger. But if you aren't quite there yet, then focus on teen modeling and get that experience under your belt until you hopefully reach fashion height, or if you don't, just keep on doing what you're doing. But either way, male models in any category tend to lead very long careers, especially if you keep at it and you book work and you make your agent happy and your look works well for clients. You're not going to have a problem. Now with my ladies, the height thing is crazy because obviously when you're young, you get taller. Some people stop growing early. Some people have late growth spurts. Some people are just tall off the bat. I have talked to 12 and 13-year-olds that were towering over me at 6 foot. I mean, it's crazy how genetics work. But before you go insane with thinking about your height and trying to make yourself grow taller, I will touch on this subject to help you decide of what kind of model you can be when it comes to young ladies, your age, and your height. Most agencies across the board set the minimum height at 5'8". The more stricter markets like New York are actually making the new minimum 5'9", but we're not going to focus on that. We're gonna go a little bit more general here. So 5'8" is kind of the magic number. It's the minimum height that you can be as a female to get into fashion, runway, and editorial modeling with an agency. So that's going to get your foot in the door. So if you are 5'7", it's kind of a tricky spot. It's one of those things where you can certainly submit yourself to agencies that represent fashion, runway, and editorial models, but you also want to make sure that you're reading the requirements on the website, or that you're aware of whether they're going to even consider you at 5'7", if they ideally want someone that's 5'8" and taller. If you've got a great look, you could be the exception to the rule. So I'm not saying that if you're 5'7", you can't get into fashion, because that's just not true. It does happen. But age has a lot to do with it. So keep this in mind. If you are age 13 to 16 and you're 5'7", many fashion agencies will actually lower the minimum height requirement for you, because they have the feeling that, hey, if you're this age, you're still young, and you're 5'7" already, chances are you're probably going to grow a little bit more in the next couple of years. So that's why some agencies do make that exception to the rule. So if you're 13 to 16 and you are 5'6", 5'7", check the websites, but in general, they usually have a lower height requirement. Now, if you're already tall enough and you're 13 through 16 or 17, 18, you're going to be fine. You've already met that main requirement, and so it's just a matter of fulfilling all the other requirements that may be listed on the agency website. Now, what if you're 13 through 17 and you are like 5'3", 5'4", 5'5", 5'6"? It's going to be harder for you to seriously be considered by a fashion agency, simply because they have the same old tired rule that taller is better and smaller is better. There's going to take a lot to change that, and I don't know if it will change enough to where people of any size can be on a professional runway. I really don't see that happening in the immediate future, but there's always the potential to change, right? But until then, if you are a lot shorter than the minimum height requirement for fashion and you're a younger female, but you want to get into modeling, then go for teen modeling. You're a teen. You're a tween maybe. You know, you can also be in commercial print. Commercial print, again, encompasses a variety of ages. It just depends on what agencies are available to you, what divisions they represent, and then seeing what their requirements are. So maybe you might have that late growth spurt. I get a lot of young ladies that say, well, I'm 5'4" now, but I think I'm going to get to like 5'9" by the time I'm 18. Okay, I really hope that works out for you. But until then, you're not 5'8" or 5'9". You're 5'3" or whatever shorter height you are, right? So instead of waiting until you get taller or hoping you get taller, get into commercial print, get into teen modeling. Look at the type of modeling options that are available to you right now. That will get your foot in the door, you get an agent, you get experience, you have a portfolio put together afterwards, and then by the time, if you hopefully do grow and can go on to be considered by fashion agencies, you've already kind of become a vet of the industry. You're not going to be nervous. You're not going to be wondering, well, what am I getting into? Because you've already taken those steps early on when you were younger and gave it a shot. So the whole bigger picture of this modeling number 2 FAQ, what kind of model can I be, is to continue to do research. You have to understand what agencies look for. You have to understand why they look for those things. And you have to put yourself in the right position to know whether this is something that you can take advantage of now, or if it's something you maybe want to walk away from and think about, absorb a little bit more to see if you really are going to be able to hit the ground running. It is totally possible to get into modeling. You just have to know the right information. You have to know the right methods of getting into it. And you have to know that it's for you. And you have to understand what you're signing on for. You're not going to be a sensation overnight. It's very hard to become supermodel status when you first start out. A lot of the average working models have been in the game for years and achieve a certain level of success. And so you have to have those expectations, those realistic expectations of yourself. And with the right research in the right direction, which hopefully I help you provide, you can find out exactly where you fit in, and then you can see if modeling really is for you, regardless of what kind of model you want to be. So thanks for listening. Hope you're able to follow everything, got some really useful information that you can apply to your journey in this whole modeling industry endeavor, and look out for video number 3 for modeling FAQ number 3.